Hey everybody, this is Jason Ostrowski, and welcome to another edition of the Everything Real Estate Podcast. In today's episode, I am bringing back a guest that needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He is the Senior VP of Digital Marketing and Innovation at Fox Roach. Of course, I am talking about the one, the only Rajeev Sajja. And today, Rajeev and I are going to talk about 5 low-cost, effective strategies to gain listings for you right now. In this low inventory market that we all have been in for quite a while now, we all know that listings are what we should be focusing on. So Rajeev and I are going to cover some strategies today to unlock the potential new listings out there for you. And we're going to do it without breaking the bank. So let's get into 5 low-cost, effective strategies to gain you more listings with Rajeev. And we'll pick it up on the other side. Many of you know him as our innovation wizard, tech connoisseur, health guru, or just the absolute best dancer at Fox & Roach, a man that needs no introduction in real estate circles nationwide, Rajeev Sajja. Rajeev, really glad to have you back on the podcast, and it looks like you actually survived ziplining through the rainforests of Costa Rica. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Jason. That's an introduction I've never had before. But I've had a ball in Costa Rica. It was my first time in ziplining, and it was awesome.
Well, I saw your pictures. They looked absolutely amazing. So
place to go, my friend.
I hope to make it down there one day. So today we are going to talk about 5 low-cost and effective ways to gain listings right now today. Because as we all know, listings are where it's at. I know, just like many of you, I am tired of driving around buyers all day, every day, just to strike out on potential listings that are out there. So listings, as we know, are at a premium, and we want to give you some tips to actually get you some listings right now. So to start things off, I'm going to mention, number 1, that I got the first item on our list today from you, Rajeev, from your weekly tip, and that is Loom. And I got to tell you, I love Loom. Coming from a BombBomb user, I love Loom. And specifically using Loom to send your unsolicited video CMAs to your clients. Rajeev, for those that missed your weekly tip about Loom, can you give us a brief overview of what Loom does and why it works so well to send your clients unsolicited video CMAs and beyond?
Yeah, so, I mean, we live in an age, Jason, in 2022 and 2023, video is 82% of internet traffic, right? But in this scenario, it is the fastest way you build trust with anyone is be on video. Now, people are very conscious of being on video. They don't want to be on video. I think we just need to hashtag get over it, right? I mean, people want to know what's in your brain and not how you look. Yeah, we need to get better as we do them. And your first video is gonna be as good as your 20th video. But Loom is a free tool up to a certain point. So it's free to get started, loom.com. And what I like about Loom is it gives you all of the basic things that you can basically, if you have a computer and internet access, you can record. And it gives you the ability to kind of put your face at the bottom left. You can move your face around, but it shares the entire screen. And having you walk through a unsolicited CMA. And there's several tools. We've talked about unsolicited CMA and the value of it. And we've done, obviously, videos around how to do an unsolicited CMA. But Loom is a great video tool that puts you front and center. And it's, most of marketing, Jason, the reason we struggle with marketing is most of us do one-to-many marketing. And what I love about this is it's one-to-one. So if you come and do a unsolicited CMA in my house, you're talking about my home address. It's my most important financial asset in many cases as a customer. And you want to personalize it. There's several things you could do. You could get a Google Earth shot of the house and really zoom in on all the things you do to bring us unsolicited CMA. And it gives you front and center with video. So Loom is great. I would encourage all of you to kind of sign up for Loom. It's free. And if you get to a certain point, I think 25 videos or more, you may have to but it's worth the investment if you need to get to that point.
Yeah, and I think the point is just getting them out there and starting to get into the habit of doing them every day. And the fact that it is free, and I think that's one space where I love that compared to Bomb Bomb. I love Bomb Bomb, but Bomb Bomb is not free, and or
Yeah.
at least the version that I have.
Yeah.
And Loom is a great tool. Number one, number two. You talked about kind of integrating it with what you want to see, whether it's Google Earth, you're zooming down onto the property. I actually use it with agent metrics. And so I use
Yeah.
the pricing analysis with agent metrics and I go through it. And the proof is in the pudding. I may be getting a listing this week from one of my videos that I sent out.
It's
So
awesome.
right away, it's paying dividends for me and it's free, low cost, high reward. So that's what we want to get into today. So number two on our list is going to be Zillow Showcase. Available to us right now, Zillow Showcase will enhance your listings on Zillow, gaining you more exposure to the masses and therefore getting you more leads and potentially more listings by using this feature. So, Rajeev, do you want to talk a little bit about this potentially new useful tool in our toolbox, what it does, and how we can capitalize on it?
Yeah, and we as a company jumped on it a little early because we want to amplify, give the ability for our agents to amplify their listings and gain more exposure. And because we believe, Jason, I think you believe the same thing, is that your listing should lead to more listings. So a listing is an asset, and if you amplify the asset, more people will see it, more consumers are aware of what you're doing, and more than the benefits, which we'll get into in a second, of what Showcase is. And very simply, Showcase is amplifying your listing presence on Zillow compared to listings that are not Showcase. So for example, the stats say Showcase listings on Zillow compared to non-Showcase listings get 75% more page views, Jason. 68% more saves and 75% more shares. And that numbers proof is in the pudding. And it gives you the ability, Showcase includes photography. You can separate it if you have a photographer that is Zillow approved, but it gives you 3D tours, drone shot, photography. And if you look at a listing that is on Showcase, it organizes the pictures by room. It's an immersive client experience. And in most cases, I think most agents hearing this podcast know that if you just have a listing on Zillow, you're really out of the lead game because it's all premier agent driven. Now, I wouldn't do this just for leads. I would do this mostly for exposure and what you can do for your sellers. But if you go to a listing that is on Showcase, you'll see a blue button that is mostly scheduling a tour. That goes to premier agents. But also now you have a button for contact listing agent. So you have contact, it'll say contact Jason, So, and if you want to learn more about this, go to listingconcierge.foxroach.com. And there's a link at the bottom about Showcase, and you learn all things and see some examples of listings that are on Showcase. And quite frankly, what happens there is, and your listings sell faster. But the biggest thing agents need to do if they embrace this, Jason, is to go in, when you go into a listing presentation, you need to say, I will do this for your listing on Zillow. And clearly, not everybody can do this because you as an individual agent, the price point is much higher than what we've negotiated and give the agents the flexibility. You can pick and choose. I want to do one this month, none next month. But if you go direct to Zillow, you're stuck at a retail model that forces you to pay more than you should. But so that's really what the flexibility we worked out with having a partnership with Zillow for Showcase.
Well, I think you had mentioned, I think the biggest thing or the takeaway that I have from Zillow Showcase, not only can it get you more leads, which is what we want, potentially get you exposure. It looks great. And all of our consumers and clients are on Zillow, right? Let's just be honest about it. That's typically where they flock to. They see that Showcase and they're seeing other properties that are showcased. And now you're going out to a listing appointment and you say, this is a great value add for you. I am going to pay for this. And we are going to do Zillow Showcase for your listing. And I think it's a differentiator. I think it makes you stand out and people understand what Zillow is and what it does. So I think it has that much more effect on your marketing when you actually go out and do your listing appointments, right? So I think it's a great value add. Yes, does it cost money? Sure it does, but this is an investment in potentially future listings, right? So that's what we're kind of gunning for with that. So I think Zillow Showcase is new, exciting, looks fantastic, and it's great for a listing appointment. So you hit on that. Number three, we're going to move on to BHHS Connect. And I want to talk about some cool new features with Connect and how we can take advantage of them. And we're going to touch upon 4 different items in Connect. So I'm going to rattle them off right now. And Rajeev, I'm going to let you explain further what these tools can do and how agents may want to use them if that's okay with you. So
Yeah.
the first feature is the new Real Scout integration into Connect. Now, you had, again, a daily tip on this past week. Do you want to explain what that is starting off and how we can use that to our advantage?
Yeah, I mean, we believe bringing the best technologies and having them talk to each other, because not everybody is good at everything. Unlike, maybe Jason's very good at everything, like a podcast host, Philly Mag Top 100 and the whole thing. But so Connect does some things really well, which is your database, your CRM. But it may not be as good with listing alerts and other things that you need to put your clients on. And Real Scout is excellent at that. So we've brought those two technologies together so that all activity, clients that need to get a Real Scout alert, you just tag them in your CRM. They're there, you set them up, and all the communication they're getting is written back into the CRM. So it's seamless for an agent to embrace that technology versus having to jump around. And that's really what we brought together with the integration that you just mentioned. And if you want to kind of go into the other component of how we cultivate more leads and generate more leads, Jason, one of the other things we talked about was one of the agents recently from our Jenkintown office messaged me and said, Rajeev, I use the test the market feature. And that's a Real Scout function. And what she did, again, here's where you go the extra mile and do something different than what most agents are doing. And what she did was she had a sale in a neighborhood. Now you could do this with, if Jason has a sale in a neighborhood I'm farming, I could do this. Hey, there was a recent sale, not take credit for it, but just announcing the sale. But you can still do the same thing. So don't think that you have to have a sale to do this type approach. So she basically looked in Cole Realty Resource, which is another tool we have access to. She pulled out people that were around that listing that lived in their house for more than 10 years. She got 60 homes, downloaded it, went to Rail Scout, and you got to do this one by one because personalization is king, right? If you send me what's sold, but you send me something about my house. So she went in, ran these test the market component, and you simply put in an address and it'll tell you how many buyers are in our system that are looking for a property similar to that. So she mailed those 60 reports, got a call from one of those 60, cold leads from Cole. And when she walked into the listing appointment, the sheet that was printed on the dining table was the test the market one. I don't think you'll ever see a just listed or a just sold card on a dining table. I've not seen one because they go to the recycle bin typically because everybody's doing them, right? I'm not diminishing the value of them. It's just that you got to learn how to separate yourself. And she got the listing and she also texted me saying it's already pended and closed. So great way to kind of leverage your database tools we offer to build more clientele and generate more leads.
Well, it's funny about that specific property. So, first of all, you mentioned Denise Feiner, who is a fantastic agent in Jenkintown. Shout out to Denise. Denise, if I'm not mistaken, that listing I had the buyer for. So Denise,
you did. There you go.
I did. So Denise and I ended up working together on that transaction. But it just goes to show these things pay off if you actually do them. And you mentioned the one-to-one marketing being the key to getting some of these listings. All right. So number 3 on this list for Connect is going to be the property boost feature through Connect. Now, people may boost properties on their own, Facebook, Instagram, other places. But I want to specifically talk about doing it through Connect because I have heard anecdotally agents have had success boosting through Connect. So can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I think it's good to level set any internet lead gen source. Like the thing I like about Property Boost, which is baked into your CRM, you just pick a property. It could even be a property in the company. It doesn't have to be yours because all IDX related. So you simply pick a property and they're mostly buyer leads, but if you do the right thing and you stay in touch, you may get some sellers out of it too, because some people that are buying want to sell as well. So, and, and most people struggle, Jason, when they get, let's just say I boost a property on Facebook, they do it directly on Facebook and they don't really understand digital advertising enough to know that, hey, I'm spending $60. What did I get for it? Right? Because you don't have a way to track it. You don't have a way to monetize what you're spending. So that's where Property Boost wins, because you say $60, 7-day ad or 10-day ad, and it'll tell you you got like 12 leads from it. And here's the next thing you need to really know if you're listening to this. And if you're going to embrace this, 11 of the 12 might be very, very bad leads. Okay. So if you go 100 leads and spend $700 and you got one deal out of it, was that a win? Yes. But most people don't get to 100. They get frustrated with the first 10 that were really poor leads. So you need to have an internet lead gen mindset if you're going to embrace this, but it is very easy to fill your database with more leads, cultivate them over time. We all know you got to have 6 to 8 to 10 touches before people sort of wake up from slumber, right? I mean, because that's really how internet leads work. So as long as you have that mindset, it's a great tool that's fully integrated to your CRM and you can track it. If you can measure it, you can say, I want to do this more or less.
You just mentioned also a very critical thing about doing Property Boost, which is your follow-up. And we should talk about that. Like it does take persistence, tenacity to follow up with these potential leads, but so do Zillow leads, right? Like, for people that are paying $2,000-$3,000 a month for a zip code, and you still have to follow up with these leads and cultivate them. It's still the same thing. This is for far less money. And again, this is what this podcast is about, is low cost, high reward potential items. And in this case, all you need to do is continue to follow up with these leads. Eventually, they're going to pay off. So the last one on the Connect number 3 list here is, can you talk a little bit about your custom squeeze pages to take advantage of them to drive people where you want them to go? So let's talk about that, what they do and how we can utilize them.
Yeah, I mean, you can do squeeze pages or landing pages based on a specific listing that's about to hit the market. I have a listing coming up in, let's say you're farming Montgomery Crossing, which is where I live, Jason. Mm-hmm. Let's say you're farming that. You could create a squeeze page saying, I have a listing coming up in Montgomery Crossing, and ask people to enter their name, cell number to be the first one to know. Again, doesn't cost anything. You do it. And here's the beauty of it. If you have a listing that's coming soon and you're in the MLS, these listings are about to hit the market, you can create a squeeze page or a landing page that talks about that specific thing. The other one, we just talked about what Denise Feiner did. You can also create the same thing for, I have 15 buyers, test the market, looking for a home like this, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. And so you start to get seller leads because sellers know, oh, wow, you have 14 buyers. Now, that's something that you can do again, same thing. Many agents are members of Facebook groups. They have a audience that they follow, are following them. But I don't see enough people kind of doing things that are lead gen specific on the social platforms. Here's another one, Jason. Stories. Instagram stories are fire, right? You could do a story every day that is slightly different, that is a lead gen specific one. Know a seller? I have 15 buyers. Do you know a seller? Yes, no. Kind of thing. Polls. All of those things are related. But once you have the idea, I'm a big believer in once an idea lands, you should expand it. Like if it lands there, you go to all the channels with the same concept,
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And we had Brittany Keys on the podcast recently.
Yes.
And one of the things that she does that is just so simple and so easy is, speaking of Instagram stories.
Yeah.
She puts up on Instagram stories, who's ready to sell their home? Yes or no, right? So putting that out there, it's simple. It's a call to action. People see it and they respond. And who knows, you might get a listing by just doing something as simple as that, right? So
The other one you could do, Jason, related,
yeah,
right? Most people, as because of the interest rates where they are, people are, have their home for a while. And like I have my interest rates like at 3%, right? When I refied. So what if you could do an Instagram story, name your price to sell your house box.
I
So
thought about that.
right? I mean, people are going to come with astronomical prices, but it starts a conversation though.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So I think that's another good one. We did a video on that too, name your price. You could even do an email, and we'll get into email here in a second, but that's another one. So engagement is key. Social media is all about engagement.
Yeah, and speaking of engagement, if you do that, name your price, right? I guarantee you there's going to be somebody on that list who's just not paying attention to the market that much. They throw out a number and you can get them that number right now, right? So
Good, yeah.
like let's talk about it, right? Let's talk further. Like you said, it's a conversation starter. So, okay, so number 4, moving on today, is something that we all use every day, but maybe not as a part of our marketing toolbox anymore. And that is probably the most underutilized tool right now, and that is email. So everything is cyclical, right? At one point in time, we used to blow up everybody's inboxes with emails all the time. We've kind of gotten away from that. And Rajeev, you and I were talking about something as simple as an intriguing email subject line that could potentially gain you more listings this year. I thought it was a brilliant idea. So can you speak a little bit more about email in general and that specific idea?
I think email is underrated. Having said that, we get a lot of email. So how do you differentiate yourself? Like I get, just like you, Jason, I get a ton of email. But there are certain people I look forward to getting because they've earned my trust, but before they earn my trust, their subject line stood out. So I've heard the father of advertising, David Ogilvy, he's like the father of advertising for forever. And he said, when you've come up with your headline, in this case, subject line, you've spent 80% of your marketing dollar. What happens in reality? Most of us spend 80% of our effort on writing the email copy, and the subject line is like, oh, I got to do that. Let me just write something. Because if you don't have a compelling subject line, the rest of the work is waste because it's not getting opened. So having said that, so start thinking, that's where maybe a chat GPT, you could start to ask for viral hooks, email subject lines. Here's the copy, paste the copy that you've written. It might give you 5 compelling subject lines, right? AI can help you there. So we did a couple of emails around equity, right? So here's a subject line. How much equity did you gain in the last 12 months? Question mark. When was the last time you sent an email like that, right? So if you send that to your sphere, I guarantee you, I had an agent that was in one of our training classes, Maddie Kaplan in Rosemont, I believe. She told me, Rajeev, I sent that to 200 in my database. She got 70 responses, and then I'll talk about what the email was. The email is like literally 3 lines. Hey, I'm setting aside some time this week to do home equity reports that are way more comprehensive than what you can ever find online, quote unquote Zillow's estimate. Over online, would you like one for your home? Question mark. That's it, right? And she got 70 responses from it. She did 70 unsolicited CMAs, Loom, we talked about that, do it properly. And then she got 17 pre-listing appointments to have more conversations from one email that was done well.
That's
right.
That's incredible. And who's not going to open that? I
know exactly.
Just hearing that subject line, like I want to open that email, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And the simplicity of it is just, I mean, it's so easy for us to do, right? If we get a good idea like that, we should be taking advantage of that. And then again, we talk about the proof being in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
Low cost, very high reward. All we need to do is write an email, which we're doing all day, every day anyway, as agents, right? And following up our client base.
Here's another one, flip side of it, right? We talked about it, test the market. So if you have a client, you could do one-to-one, but I'll also give you a solution for one-to-many in this case. So if Jason's at 117 Hanover, my default property in North Wales in my neighborhood, which I use a lot for my demos, in the community I live, especially in farming areas, most of the homes have same number of beds, similar bats, etc. So if you do a test the market and you find out there's like 18 buyers looking for a home like 117 Hanover, this is a subject line I'm sending Jason. I have 18 buyers looking for a home like 117 Hanover Avenue, and that's Jason's home. And when you open it, I'm going to attach the PDF to earn trust from Test the Market to you. Hey, if you're ready to have a conversation, let's chat. Okay, market's hot. Now that's a personalized one-to-one. Now let's look at one-to-many. I have 18 buyers looking for a home in Montgomery Crossing. Now I go a little bigger because there's like 200 homes in Montgomery Crossing. And if I can get Cole Realty and my database mixed in and I've tagged them properly, I can do one-to-many and send it to all of Montgomery Crossing like that in email. And Denise did the print version, which is also valuable, but you could also do email with the same concept. So you're flipping the script. I got buyers looking for a home versus equity for homeowners.
And we're always looking for creative ways to use these tools. I mean, these are concrete ideas that work, and we're not even getting into Cole Realty, right? And what you can do with that today. But that again is a resource that typically would cost you as an individual a lot of money going back into the past. Now we have it and we can take advantage of it for free. And, there's no reason not to be doing these things, right? And focusing your time on money-making activity, which is, again, the key to your business. We should all be thinking about trying to do these things every day. So, okay. Yeah. So lastly, and number 5 on our list are mailers. And again, we talk about something that we all get all the time. A lot of times you had mentioned earlier, we just, end up chucking them in the trash, right? Because for me, and I am a complete sucker for good marketing. And I do find, and no disrespect to anybody out there who's doing the just listed, just sold cards, the traditional way of doing them. But to me, it just kind of falls on deaf ears, right? Because we get so many of them, see them all the time. They're kind of that generic thing that we all send out when, it's time to send out something to say we sold something. So, Rajeev, you told me about a great idea to employ with your mailers that goes way beyond your typical just listed, just sold postcards. So can you talk about how one creative way to use a QR code on a mailer can be the next great way to gain you more listings right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, to your point, Jason, just listed, I think effective marketing creates separation with agents. I mean, it just is a fact, right? I mean, there's some brands we just gravitate to because of their marketing. An agent brand, you're a brand as an agent, right? So again, there's nothing wrong with just listed, just sold. It's just that it's a sea of mediocrity of marketing because everybody's doing them. So for me, just listed, just sold, like I just don't care, right? Like I get them, but I see them, but doesn't make an impression. Now let's flip the script a little bit. What if you sent a card? Doesn't matter. In this case, it's a just sold card concept, but you put a big QR code, giant QR code, and you put an arrow on it and say, scan here to find out, did you hear about your neighbor? And this is an actual live example I'm sharing from an agent, not in our company, but it is live data, factually data. And they sent this out to their sphere. I mean, basically, the farm area. In this case, the example is they sent it out to 5,000 people. So that's a commitment, a couple of $1,000s right there. But let's look at the result. If you get good results, you'll keep doing them, right? So how many people scan the code? Not close to 2,000 people scan the code, okay? Next, what do you do when they scan the code? Here's a big one in marketing, right? Where do you take them? And in this case, this is why I like this approach, Jason, because most people with the current real estate climate we're in, we all need to be talking about the value you bring to your client as a listing agent or a buyer agent, right? Either way. In this case, it takes them to a nice landing page that says, and I'm going to read this to you, our team's marketing strategy, which we can talk about, like Zillow Showcase. You can put all that on the listing on that landing page. got our client 119,000 over asking, 11 offers, 8 days on market, and it sold for whatever price it sold for. Do you have similar goals and a nice little lead form? And 37 people in this case filled out that lead form. And I guarantee you that led to multiple listings. And so, when was the last time we got 37 calls from a just sold postcard? Even if you did it like that. So, you're trying to separate yourself. And the reason I like about this, even if you did a just sold card, it didn't tell me the all of the tasks and the effort you put in to sell the property for your client or purchase a property. You talked about have a buyer, you went through all of the number of multiple offer situation. You don't allow yourself to tell the story if you don't do that kind of an approach. Now, you could take this even in an email format. Why did 121 Main Street sell in 8 days with 11 offers? Question mark. I mean, there's, again, land and expand, but we're on postcards. So this is a great way to think about redoing your postcard strategy to really drive more leads.
I think we need to think about as agents how we can effectively separate ourselves from the herd, right? And that idea right there separates you from the herd. And if you do things creatively and you find a way to stand out the way that stands out to me, that gets me excited because I don't like the herd mentality. You know, you and I were talking about it, and again, I'm not trying to call anybody out. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody out there. But when you put on social media, you sell a property, you put out there that sold in 2 days, 18 offers, you know, way above asking, yada, 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 right? You're saying to the client that it's easy to sell their house, in my mind, right? That it's a simple thing. We put a sign in the yard, automatically it's sold, right? So what did you do specifically to sell that house? That's what you need to focus on. And a lot of times the hard work is done beforehand, before you ever put that sign in the ground, to enable you to get what you got on that property price-wise, right? And we need to tell a story. You and I, Rajeev, we were talking about this yesterday. You need to tell a story when you're posting to social media or you're marketing what you just sold or what you just listed, because it's the story that grabs people. It's not the facts of the matter, right? It's that emotion, that story brings people in. Do you want to touch upon that real quick, Rajeev?
Yeah, I mean, and you need to announce that you got a listing, because we believe listings are assets. But I think, to your point, if you've helped a buyer through like 8 different offer situations and they finally got the home, that story is not told unless you actually write it somewhere, right? So I think it's very important, and that's where your value conversation comes in. What is the value of having an agent? And that's being questioned every day. And the way you rise above the value conversation is you actually talk about the value you provided your buyer or seller. And you have multiple opportunities to do that. When you get a listing, what did you do to get the listing? Right? There's multiple opportunities. Open houses. Why was it a successful open house? You did work. It just didn't happen. So I think there's multiple stages. You need to tell a story where it shows your expertise and not really boasting about it, but really statement of facts. We did X kind of marketing strategy. When we got the listing, we had 3D tours, showcase, whatever you did, kind of articulate it and put it in a story form. And I think that's how you win more listings with your listing, you know?
And it's making it about the client and not
100%.
about yourself. Now, sure, do we need to promote ourselves? Absolutely, right? In fact, I'll go back and just say, like, a lot of times when I go out to a listing appointment, I will show my track record of sales this year, right? And what is my listing to sale price ratio, right? That's the kind of stuff that you focus on, because that's bread and butter stuff. That means something to the seller. It's not necessarily about me. It's what I can get for the seller. And, you know, we talk about on social media the fact that we need to make it more about the client. And I think we do a lot of bragging out there. I mean, this is coming from someone who just posted about the Philly Mag thing.
And that's okay.
But you can do that from time to time. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that we need to focus on making it client centric and going after what they want and meet them where they are, right? And making it.
I've heard, I was at a conference recently and the speaker was talking about the only reason you post on social media is one of three things. If you're not doing these three things, and I want all the people that are listening to this podcast to go back and look at their last 10 posts if they meet these three criteria. Okay. One is valuable. Is it valuable to the people looking at it? Okay. Second, educational. You're informing them about something valuable, obviously. Third is inspirational. So I'll give you a good example, Jason. I mean, most people are good at media, and we can finish the pod as we end. I want to share this one thought. Most people are good. Most people don't do any media, which you need to start generating something. You're good at media, but we suck at social media, right? So the way you get good social component is you create curiosity, you create engagement, because you're feeding the algorithm, right? If I post something and nobody comments on it, it's not going viral. Okay, so I'll give an example. Recently, I was in a conference. Tom Ferry was speaking, and he wanted to take a picture with me. No, I wanted to take a picture. So I took a picture with him. In the past, even earlier this year, I would have simply posted the picture and say, hey, I heard Tom speak. Fine. Look at me, post it was. I would do less of that. But what I did this time was, I heard Tom Ferry speak, talked about how an agent can succeed in 2024 and beyond. If you want the notes I took at the session, comment notes below, and I will send it to you. Now you can go look at it on my Facebook page. You know how many comments I got on that? 300 plus.
Oh, I think I was one of them, if I'm not mistaken.
You probably were. But, and therefore, I took an instance where I was, and I added value to my community. It was work on my part to actually document the notes, do the PowerPoint, kind of create a video, but that's the value you need to add. Can you do a post like that? Hey, top 5 restaurants in Montgomeryville you need to visit. Comment restaurants, I'll send them to you. Kind of do stuff like that are community driven. And I'll tell you, that post got obviously 2,000 plus people sort of saw the post, but 40% of them, Jason, that Tom Ferry post were non-followers for my social media. So increasing the reach, add value, valuable, educational, inspirational. Go look at your posts and see if they meet that criteria.
Well, it's engagement, right?
100%.
And that's the name of the game. All right. I know you got to get out of here. So before we go, I just want to mention, I hope all of you are watching Rajeev's weekly tips because they are outstanding. They're bite-sized. You can incorporate them right away into your business. So I want to thank you for doing them every week because I am getting some great info out of them. And then last but not least, I want to give a plug to your own podcast with Jimmy Burgess again, AI Flash. You want to talk about that a little bit and what you cover there?
Yeah, we're having a good time doing it, man. And AI is changing so fast. I can't believe the speed at which change is happening. But the way you keep up with it is it's a fire hose. We all know, and most agents are just dabbling with AI. And we've just created a platform for us to share. A weekly podcast drops every Wednesday, Real Estate AI Flash, and we're already into 22 episodes, Jason, this year. It's crazy.
That's great.
And we are starting a newsletter. We started last week. We're over 1,000 subscribers already. You can go to realestateaiflash.com and subscribe for it. It comes out every Thursday morning, and that's how you keep up. So we want to make it approachable and actionable. So check it out.
Well, I always appreciate your time, especially when you're doing this from a hotel in Baltimore right now. So I hope, I'm glad to have caught you in between meetings today. But again, appreciate you, man. Always love your information when you come on and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Big thanks to Rajeev for joining us this week on the podcast. I thought there was just a ton of information to take away from this episode. So I am not going to spend time talking about my 3 takeaways this week. What I would suggest is to go back into this episode, find a few items that kind of speak to you and you can implement into your business easy enough, and focus on doing them and getting more listings. Like I said earlier in this episode, we need to focus our business on money-making activities, and this episode is jam-packed with those activities to get us more listings and to make us more money. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and you put these tools to use. Well, that's it for the podcast this week. We will be back in another couple of weeks with a new topic, a new guest, and as always, if you want to hear a topic that we haven't covered yet, please reach out to me, jason.ostrowski@foxroach.com. And if you haven't liked or subscribed or left us a review yet, please do so. It helps us to reach more people. Once again, this is Jason Ostrowski saying stay safe out there, stay selling, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Everything Real Estate Podcast.